This is absolutely fantastic presentation. I'm even thinking, what else can I add to these things? These presenters and you too, and so on. You touched just about everything I wanted to talk to you about. Anyway, this is Metka Dragos, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing and Manager for Wi-Fi here at Arista. And let's talk about the maybe day 3, day 4, day 100 of your Wi-Fi network and how it goes. So like we all agree, I think all 1,000 and more people here, that there is absolutely no way to design wireless network today without amazing tools like Ekahau provides. And it was kind of easy from beginning when it was 2.4 and it was all about coverage. But then we got 5 gigahertz, which was really amazing, addition or upgrade to Wi-Fi. But things became already more difficult. It was different penetration, different coverage, different power levels, all these channel complications, what is allowed to use without DFS, and all these kind of things. And now we have another Wi-Fi upgrade to 6 gigahertz. And as you may think that the differences are slight in the coverage, in the penetration, and so on, you guys, especially at Ekahau, you know exactly that this may not be true. Because if you add 1,200 megahertz, and I'm sorry if you don't have all 1,200 yet, but if you add 1,200 megahertz from the beginning of the band to the end of the band, you already have the difference. But we are also talking about 5 gigahertz that we used until now, and now we go to 6 gigahertz. So definitely coverage, penetration, and so on changes, although the protocol is the same. It's still 11AX. So that's why, and then we are looking into, people are already asking, what about, 5G in the States? We call it CBRS. In other parts of the world, you call it a bit differently, but we are still talking about pretty much this frequency between 2.4 and 5, around 3.5, 3.6 gigahertz. Is this coming indoor? How am I gonna do this? And so on. So a lot more complications are coming, like it's not already not enough complications. So let's go into next slide, and let's stop whining about what other complications are coming. And after we use these tools, we define the network, we have assumptions, we have understandings of the environment, and so on. By the time the network is really deployed, it may take quite some time. We are not out of this supply chain. I'm sorry to mention it, but it's the reality. We are not out of the supply chain problems. So you design the network, you order the gear, you have some assumptions, you have beautiful what-if scenarios possible with tools like Ekahau tools and so on. But you may get this gear, you may be able to install this network only a year from now or 8 months, it doesn't matter. What matters is really that your environment may already changed between the time that you planned and that you went through all these scenarios and today. And maybe in your company, they are different departments. I know many customers where facilities are basically separate or completely separate the department from the IT. And they may bring all these IoT devices into your environment, even without your knowledge. You may not even know. Or they tell you the last second, hey, we are bringing this, you know, location, wayfinding, temperature reading, people counting, whatever other IoT devices that may even be, like we saw from the early morning presentation, that most likely they will be Wi-Fi based. If they are not Wi-Fi based, at least they will be using the same frequency. And these devices can be cameras maybe on 2.4 gigahertz, maybe on 5, maybe on 6 gigahertz. We don't know. Even if you ask facilities, so what are the specs? Yeah, well, you know, I only care about, you know, seeing the people or measuring the temperature or counting the people and so on. Or your neighbors change, or whatever happens. So doing validation after deployment becomes even more important than it ever was. Noise may increase for whatever reasons. Maybe you are consolidating your labs, you're bringing more other electronic devices, not even Wi-Fi or wireless connectivity devices to your environment. You dramatically increase the noise that you have in your environment. Or, like it was also mentioned, what if the walls have changed? What if the walls are that were not there are now there? Because the trend in offices was to put down the walls, to put more people into the same space. Now, after this pandemic experience, now the walls keep coming back and so on. So validation, ultra important. But after that, it's this honeymoon maybe period where you feel good, you know, you really use the right tool, you really have the whole picture, you do the spot checks, you do all these things, everything works fine, you are happy, you can take a vacation now. But then the day 100, the day 200, and so on come, and let's see what is also important in the life of wireless network. So if we go to the next slide, I show you 360 degrees visibility, which is maybe kind of different way of saying 360 degrees visibility than you sometimes see. Sometimes people will talk about, you know, seeing how many clients, what are the clients, how are they using the network, and all these things will be called 360 degrees visibility. For my presentation today here is more, did I really cover everything? You know, is this network secure? This is ultra important. It's not just does it perform, do I have, you know, the right roaming coverage and so on. It's also, is this network secure? It was never more important also, you know, to know if this is true. And then, it's also time to innocence. You all mentioned, all presenters, probably all attendees here, you have exactly the same experience. Wi-Fi is being blamed for everything. Wi-Fi doesn't work and it's broken again and it just sucks and so on. So is that normal reaction of people? Of course it is, because this is the edge connectivity. And, you know, people don't have to know that really there are so many steps that at one point you hit the wire, at one point you hit the internet, then connections and so on, that there are so many other points on your network when the things go wrong. And then, you know, these are the two things that are really important to me at this moment. There are other functions that are served by multifunctional radios, but these are not actually focus of my presentation. So we can actually go on the next slide. With this multifunctional radio, that is additional radio, non-access radio, right? Non-access radio on the access points. I say that with that additional radio, you get like experts in your access point, in your area access point that you have. You suddenly get the WLAN security expert, and this is what I want to talk more about. Then you get a cloud-to-cloud troubleshooting expert, and even maybe performance expert in, again, every single access point that you have on your network. And on the next slide, we just a quick reminder. I don't want to teach you hacking tools. I don't want to teach you all kind of, things that are actually working against your security. But as everything is becoming easier, planning is becoming easier thanks to awesome tool developers and so on, also hacking is becoming easier. First of all, there are more challenges with all these IoT devices or whatever we call them. They have different forms, different shapes. They were not at all developed with security in mind, simply not. If you look into some security reports, you will see that pretty much 90% of security threats are coming from this flood of IoT devices. Hacking tools are available for purchase for very little money and so on. It's just there, you take it off the shelf and you can start playing and hacking. Articles are published and so on. So security is not something to forget. And when we go on the next slide, people sometimes say, well, you know what, with Wi-Fi 6E, that is 6 gigahertz, wireless or Wi-Fi becomes much more secure. And I usually say, well, maybe, but WPA3 that they are most likely referring to is one step. It is one step, but it's not a complete step to secure your network. Why not? Because WPA3 is only upgrade to authentication and encryption, right? There's no more open networks. They are encrypted now. So one of the attacks, only one of the attacks is, eliminated. That is eavesdropping because it's encrypted, but it's still no authentication. So that is still a big problem. And the rest is just pretty much better encryption. It is less possibility for some kind of different types of PSK attacks, but that is pretty much what we get with WPA3. Other attacks are still there. Old is new. And why I'm saying old is new? Major threat is rogue access points or misconfigured access points. We all know that this beautiful 6 gigahertz is here, but is not necessarily completely here yet. So 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and WPA2 and everything else will be around for many, many years to come. So now if you feel secure because you don't have 6 gigahertz, it's quite opposite, especially when it comes to rogue access points and the misconnected clients. And let me talk more about this threat. So on the next slide, I'll remind you of what are those other threats that are still there, and especially two of them that are very, very serious with 6 gigahertz coming. So first one is client misassociation. Our client devices, you have Samsung phones. Well, Apple didn't actually come out with 6 gigahertz, you're right. But anyway, we do have some IoT devices, we have some mobile devices that support 6 gigahertz for quite some time already. And this, if your company doesn't use 6 gigahertz as your Wi-Fi network, these clients will be still looking for 6 gigahertz. And they may just find 6 gigahertz connectivity around either another mobile device, co-workers, guests, who knows, like the mobile tethering and so on, or rogue access points. Somebody may plug in rogue access point to your enterprise network. If you are not using 6 gigahertz, you pretty much have no way to detect that there is 6 gigahertz. Suddenly, 6 gigahertz access point, rogue access point on your network, or another floor with another company, or the same floor, another company, and so on. So this is very serious. I don't know if I'm clear enough, but with 6 gigahertz client devices, with 6 gigahertz of access points being consumer or enterprise grade, and your company not having 6 gigahertz access points, it is very, very difficult, next to impossible, to detect that you have rogue access point. The other threats are still around, but I don't have really enough time to go into the others, so I will try to concentrate on the rogue access points and the client misassociation. And on the next slide, I will just repeat what was discussed already today, what Sidekick was also concerned with. It is the scanning. So to find the rogue access point, to find client misassociation, and so on, there are a couple of different implementations that you usually see from the access points. They are implementations with background scanning, which they usually use vendor implementation like Qualcomm and so on for background scanning, or overlays which only, the 3-letter federal agencies actually still do, and then, multifunction radio if your vendor has this capability on the access point. So with the background scanning, here are just the numbers. It will take an hour or more, rather more than an hour. We did the testing. It's usually around an hour, 20 minutes before all the channels are scanned. Just a question to you. How many clients, how many access points, rogue access points can you miss in an hour? Intruders are not stupid. They know these numbers too. They know that they have 13 minutes, 25 minutes, or an hour time to do the hacking before you come around and you find them. So the great advantage of multifunction radio is you don't have overlay, you don't have another layer of access points and so on. And because it is basically dedicated, because it's not access radio, it's not client serving radio, our measurements show that within 14 seconds on average, we can scan all 3 bands. So this is great advantage. It's non-interruptive. All the clients are still served on all 3 bands at the same time. We are scanning all 3 bands within 14, 15, 16 seconds. And this works even if you are not using 6 gigahertz at all. Maybe you are in part of the world where 6 gigahertz is not allowed yet, but intruders are not about what's allowed, what's not allowed, right? They will bring, 6 gigahertz access point and run it in India or Caribbean and so on. But with this dedicated radio, a multifunctional radio, you can be running dual 5 gigahertz or 5 and 2.4 gigahertz and still be able to detect all this, new, old threats on your network. Next slide, please. So another maybe advantage real quick is that this is not overlay. This is not another user interface. This is not jumping from, one cloud to another cloud and so on. All the results, all the reports, everything is available here. And at the end, you'll see how Ekahau and Arista actually work together to make this even better. So let's go next. Now that you have all this, reports, you have all the data, you have everything available, what do you do with it? One thing is monitoring the environment, the air, and saying, oh, there is a potential rogue access point. The completely different thing is to do something about it. Or one thing is saying, I have client that I think it's connecting to possible rogue access point. Another one is to know it and to do something about it. To do something about it is very, very, very dangerous, because if you do something, if you mitigate something that was not really a rogue, then you may be in huge legal trouble. So having first assurance that this was the true rogue client misconnection or true rogue access point, and being able to do something automatically based on this detection, it is completely different level, completely different story, and it is ultra important. With thousands, 10,000, 100,000 of access points, you will usually have a lot of possible rogues and so on. Just do something manual is probably not sustainable anymore. So next. One differentiator, if I can say, with Arista is that we are the vendor that we feel, and not just us, also, like I mentioned, the federal agencies, this is military grade solution, we usually say. The federal agencies all the way to the top of US government, they trust into this. Just quickly, a reminder, there are kind of two types of this rogue access point. One is kind of bridging access point, that's the left-hand side. And then it is rogue access point that is net, that behaves and shows us on the network as the NAT device. And Arista's solution to determine if this access point is the true rogue, if it's truly on your network, which is, the legal definition of the rogue access point, unauthorized, unauthorized network, Arista will send so-called marker packet on the wired side, as you see, on the wired side of the access point. And this packet is then relayed relate to the wireless side. And if it is detected on the wireless side, then this is basically, I'm trying to simplify, this is basically the confirmation that this access point is truly on your network, because not being on your network, it wouldn't be relayed to the wireless side. And the other type is, like I said, net type of the access point. It behaves like a net on the wireless side. So in this situation, as you see, we inject the marker packet or discovery packet for this thing on the wireless side, sending it to the known host. That would be the green AP there, authorized, to known host on the wired side. And to simplify, if this known host receives the marker packet, is basically confirmation that this is the real rogue. And that means that we can actually mitigate. We can mitigate this access point without being worried about the legal consequences. Let's go next. Running out of time. I know I talk too much always. The other function that may also be very important that comes from this multifunctional radio is network assurance and time to innocence for the wireless network. So when you get this, Wi-Fi is broken, Wi-Fi doesn't work, and so on, what do you do, right? You check if the HCP is working, you check if radius is working, if it's reachable, you are pinging, you are, or if they say it sucks, you're doing the speed tests, voice, I'm losing you, Zoom doesn't work, right? And so on. It drops connection. I just want to go to another side and it drops connection and things like that. So it's a lot of work that is not on physical layer, right? That is not on physical layer before you can figure out, you know, what's really going on. This is such a waste of time. I know that many really smart and experienced people in this field will say, stop wasting time troubleshooting something that's not really a problem, right? I mean, if your connection drops, or if you had connection and you don't have it now, or even if Zoom is not working, maybe is not Wi-Fi. And before you jump and you start troubleshooting Wi-Fi and all these things, let's use all this knowledge that we collected over 20 plus years of this Wi-Fi, and let's use either AI or not. You know, not all problems require AI, just, you know, so that we understand some of the problems are easier identified. And let's go on the next slide. So let's take this knowledge and let's run some network assurance tests to determine if, you know, the rest of the network is okay. If it's not okay, if a gateway fails like here, then let's just not waste time troubleshooting Wi-Fi. And let's go next. This AWS presentation reminded me is the simulation. Let's test the network before events. If I have event today at 10 in the morning and I'm expecting executives from different companies, I'm expecting my customers and so on, let me run the test at 4 in the morning while I'm still asleep. And let's assure that, you know, DNSs and DHCPs and everything and gateways will be up and running and so on, not the last 10 minutes when everyone is already in the facility and they go, oh, do you have Wi-Fi available? My connectivity doesn't work. And we go next. So it does happen, of course, then Wi-Fi is to blame. And when Wi-Fi is to blame, probably this multifunctional radio may not give you enough details, enough answers to be able to quickly resolve. So that's where we fall back on other tool vendors to help with their amazing tools. They have exactly the same value as we have. This thing has to work. Wi-Fi is commodity, Wi-Fi is expected. Let's make sure that we can fix it quickly by knowing what's around, where is the problem, and so on. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Arista and Ekahau are further integrating and stay tuned, please. You will hear about our amazing integration that is in the final step of testing and QAing. Sorry, I'm a minute too long. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Metka. That was an amazing presentation. Such great security insights there and recap into things to think about. So a huge thank you to Metka from Arista for taking time out of your busy day to come and talk to us about that. What a fantastic presentation.